Yes people, Shifty e-bikes back at it again. Today we've got a really important video because how many people have bought one of these bikes or thinking about buying one of these bikes? And they're saying how long do they last? So that's the question we're going to ask today. I've got a full range test on this battery. Stay tuned and let's see how far we can get. Yes people, going to be doing a little range test today. As you probably already know from the intro, it says 76 but we'll update. 67.7 volts, 100%. And then I have actually set all this up so that the odometer's right, but let's get it. See how far we get. It's obviously going to be a bit of a range test in mode 3 because it wants to see mode 1. But yeah, let's do it. Oh, it's definitely a wet one. Right people, so it's important to mention before we get properly started into this range test that this is the absolute biggest limitation for these electric bikes. 9 times out of 10, when you're going out for big rides, you're always going to have some sort of range anxiety and worries of being left stranded. So today we've got the 60 volt 40 amp hour Talaria XXX, which is the same size battery as a stock Surron. It's very wet as you can see, and the amount of wheel spin I was getting throughout this full trip was outrageous to be honest. So obviously you're running at higher RPM on your motor, which is going to drain the battery slightly more. I'm in mode 3 the full time, which is max power, literally the full time, and that's 7 kilowatts. Super sloppy, standard UK weather this though. I weigh 96 kilos, but with all my gear on, I'm probably about 100, 102, something like that. And to be honest, this is one of the biggest factors when it comes to these range tests. Like the actual weight of the person on the bike dramatically affects how far you're going to get and what kind of range you're going to get. Basically, if you was 120 kg, say you get 20-25 miles out of these bikes, whereas if you was 65 kilograms, like nearly half the weight, you're probably looking at over 35. So in the UK today, very cold again, 10 degrees. Obviously the motor's not going to be overheating or anything like that, but obviously battery's going to be quite cold, which again affects it. So this bike has got 1500 miles on it, so range will slightly decrease over time, but hopefully it's not too much where it's really noticeable. It shouldn't be more than 10-15% type thing. I've got a lot of modifications on this bike as well that add weight, like my wheels, tyres, and to be honest, even like the peg drop mount, the peg brace and everything, it all adds. It might not be a lot, but it definitely does add weight. It is always going to contribute. And today obviously I'm out with my mate on his 250 enduro bike, so I'm going to be obviously maintaining a much higher speed than if I was out with other electric bikes, if I was out with Surron or if I was out with push bikes. Obviously they're going to maintain a lot lower speed, so you're going to get a lot more range out of it, whereas if you're sort of going above 30 miles an hour quite frequently, you're just going to kill the battery basically. Talaria claim that this bike has got 50 miles of range, but I'm not convinced I'm going to get 50 miles today. So what do you think we're going to get to today? Especially pulling more power than stock as well, obviously from the 5 kilowatt to the 7. There is a couple of ways you can improve range on these bikes. A bigger sprocket normally helps because there's less load on the motor when you're trying to accelerate, but if you was at higher speeds, you obviously get a higher RPM for the motor because it's geared down. Average speed anyway, it's want to be lower. So like I say, with it being with a 250, obviously I'm going at a lot higher speed than I normally would if I was going with another electric bike. Rider weight decrease would obviously improve your range. Obviously there's less load on the whole bike and all the components and everything, but obviously this could take a lot of time. It's not as easy as just dropping 15 kilos. We're at 3.2 miles, but it's 74%. So definitely not that great, but it is pretty wet. So I'm spinning everywhere, and the fucking cold is really bad. So yeah, 75%, 3.2 miles, not exactly ideal, but let's see how we get on. Check back in at 50. Another way to improve range would be to switch to eco mode whenever you're cruising or whether you're connecting the trails together. When you're on the trails or whatever, yeah, go full power, literally rip it, you know what I mean? But if when you're cruising trail to trail on a road or whatever, you want to be going in some sort of eco mode or less power, just to make sure you're not draining the battery faster when you could be trying to save a little bit. Obviously in dry or warmer conditions, that's also going to make a big difference. When it is drier and if it was like 15-20 degrees rather than 10, you're probably going to get more range as well, just because obviously the battery's at a better temperature to start with, so that's going to increase your range as well. Yes people, just checking in, we're at 50%. It's true. 13.7 miles at 50%. So it's not looking great, we're looking at about 28 miles, but remember I've got big wheels on everything. I don't think that's too bad. It might go down a little bit quicker in this second half though, so checking the more frequent. Let's see how far we get. So now we've got some charging methods and some tips to keeping your battery health at its absolute tip-top shape. So only ever use the stock charger. Don't ever buy an aftermarket fast charger or something like that for your stock bike. Most of these chargers is the reason that people end up with fires and battery problems, stuff like that, because they're not using a stock charger. So it doesn't ever know when it's full, it's not set up correctly. It's just a massive, massive hazard. So please do not buy aftermarket fast chargers for your stock bike, because it will not end well. Before charging your bike after you come home, wait about 30 to 60 minutes after a ride to allow the battery to actually cool down. Sometimes the bikes actually don't let you charge until it's cooled down anyway, so sometimes you don't have to think about that. But still, bear in mind, don't be expecting to get home, bang it straight on charge, because it won't go very well for you long term. Connect the charger to the battery first, and then into the wall, and then you'll start your charging from there. Some people put it into the wall first, it already starts the fan and everything, and then when they go to actually plug the charger in, you end up having a little spark and it shorts out. Don't want to be having that, not one bit. Don't deplete your battery completely to 0% every ride. Try and aim to keep about 5 to 15%, because full discharges can actually stress the battery out and reduce its lifespan. It can actually even sometimes take it under its voltage threshold, and then you've got to put a trickle charger on to sort of charge it to a certain amount so the normal charger will work.
So people, we're on 31%. Gone 19.8 miles. I don't think that's too bad. We've had nearly an hour out. It is at 31 there, and you can see the power has sort of lost its snappiness a bit. Look, we'll see how much further we get. Might not be too long though before we end up sort of dying basically. This is where I recorded my how to wheelie video. If you haven't already seen that, definitely one to give a watch.
If you're going to be storing your batteries for a week or longer, I'd recommend between 50 and 75%, because this is where these sort of lithium batteries, this is sort of the happiest point for them. Keeps them sort of charged. You're not going to deplete super quick and go under voltage or anything like that. It's just a good point to have it at about 50 to 75%. You also want to be storing your bikes between 10 and 25 degrees. So if you're leaving it in a shed over winter when it's -2 outside, again, it's really, really not going to be good for your battery. Really don't like being at super cold temperatures like that. So if you're leaving it in your shed, I'd personally bring your battery in at least, just to make sure that your battery stays at a good temperature. If you're going to be leaving your bikes in storage for an extended period of time, I'd recommend you check it every sort of 3 or 4 months, recharge it to the recommended amount, like I say, about 50 to 75%. You want to be keeping it around there, because it will actually naturally discharge anyway. So sometimes you might put it away on 50%, wait 3 months, you might check your battery and it's at somewhere near 30. You just want to be topping it up and making sure it's still in that happy range type thing. So as you can probably see, I'm at the end of my ride now. The actual total distance that we covered today is nowhere near the 50-mile mark that they said. They said 50 miles, right? Don't get me wrong, I'm on 22%. As you can see on the screen now, I've got 22 miles. But even still, that's not fantastic really. Don't get me wrong, I was in the max power mode. I am quite heavy compared to most people who ride these bikes, and it was insanely wet and sloppy, so I had a lot of wheel spin going as well. But yeah, 22 miles, just over an hour riding. I'm on 22%, but I was still completely happy with the distance I actually covered. As you can see from the video, it's not quite as far as I would have liked to have gone. 22 miles, it's not fantastic, but if you're absolutely sending it and you're keeping it with a 250, then can't really ask for much more than 25 miles type thing. I'd like to thank everyone who's watched the video right to the end. Thanks so much for watching. Stay tuned for next Sunday at 4 PM. Got weekly videos coming, you know what I'm saying? Every Sunday 4 PM, got a brand new video coming out. So stay tuned and make sure you hit that subscribe button.